An Assassin's Creed game set in Japan has been discussed for as long as I can remember. In fact, back in 2012 and 2019, Ubisoft released an official poll asking the community what setting would be most appealing for them for a prospective future AC game, with Warlords Battles in Feudal Japan making an appearance in both of those polls across 5 years. But interestingly, on those two polls, we also have the American Revolution, the Pharaoh reign in Egypt, Victorian England, the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta, as well as the Viking invasions and their great army. Of course, all four of those games have now since come to fruition as AAA games within the franchise, and incidentally, AC Japan has been discussed even before 2012, as Alex Hutchinson, game director of Assassin's Creed 3, said in 2010 that a game set in feudal Japan and Egypt are two of the worst settings for an AC game, but he did go on to say that even though it would be boring, a feudal Japan setting would technically work as an Assassin's Creed game. Now, Alex is no longer with Ubisoft, and in the last decade, things have of course changed internally significantly, with Kotaku recently stating that they've spoken to their own Ubisoft insiders who have stated that a game in Asia has been discussed at length internally for quite a long time. And you'd expect that to be the case really, as these recent polls that seem to be happening every 5 years or so are turning out to be more of a internal checklist rather than speculation surrounding future AAA AC games. But let's add a little bit more to this conversation, because Jeff Grubb, a reputable industry journalist and leaker, has added to this Japan discussion even further. He recently stated in his podcast that the new AC game will be set in Japan and is currently operating under an internal codename called Project Red. Now, if you didn't know, Ubisoft stamps their internal prospective and current games in development with an internal codename before the business then settles on a public name, which is then advertised close to release. A recent example being the internal codename given to Valhalla, which was Kingdom, which then turned into Valhalla, if that kind of makes sense. But anyway, Jeff went on to say further that this new AC game will be more like the RPG games that we're currently familiar with, which was echoed by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, another reputable industry journalist and leaker, who did elaborate further and stated that Project Red is part of Assassin's Creed Infinity, and agreed with Jeff that this will be an RPG-based AC game. Now, if you're wondering what this Assassin's Creed Infinity game is, well, it's not a game per se, but has been officially acknowledged by Ubisoft as an internal project which is being headed up by two teams, that being Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft Quebec, and the overarching goal being that this new platform won't be a single standalone entry like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but instead aims to be a platform or hub that will tie in all strands of all the Assassin's Creed series together across multiple different games in a live service format, with Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot stating in an earnings report last year that this platform will not be free to play. In fact, he went on to say further that this platform will have a lot of narrative elements in it that do already exist in the games that we've published in the past. It will also be very innovative and will have everything players already have in the current Assassin's Creed games. So with all of this in mind, it looks like future game installments will launch on this Assassin's Creed Infinity hub, and this is where Project Red or Japan falls into place. And from what we've been told so far, I reckon this Japan game will be just one of many AC titles that are set across different time periods in history, and as new installments and new expansions are released, they'll be added to this Infinity platform to contribute to a larger storyline or goal that unifies the complete Assassin's Creed experience. Now, to add to this Japan speculation further, John Bighorn, concept artist at Ubisoft, who works out of Montreal, which coincidentally is one of two of the studios involved in the Infinity project we discussed earlier, has whipped up some concept art which leans itself to Asian culture. Furthermore, Aboining Thausja, another senior concept artist at Ubisoft, has whipped up some more concept art around Assassin's Creed Japan. Of course, it is their job to actually make conceptual ideas, so this doesn't necessarily confirm that AC Japan is in the works, but it all certainly adds to that kind of conversation. Speaking of which, there is already established lore within the Assassin's Creed universe surrounding the Japanese Brotherhood of Assassins, which has been previously mentioned in various games, as well as a French novel called Assassin's Creed Fragment, Blade of the Azu, which was released in 2021. So Ubisoft is certainly dipping their toe into this part of the world, and we can also see that further in the recent Shinobi armor set pack available in Valhalla's cosmetic store. Now, I'm not saying that a Helix armor pack is a nod to what's to come for future Assassin's Assassin's Creed games, far from it, but it certainly is an interesting and noteworthy choice of design, especially as Ubisoft are very well known for placing subtle and indirect hints in their games, such as the Valhalla teaser in the Division 2 game. Now I kind of remember it, where Ubisoft placed a poster in the JFK Stadium which showed a Viking holding an Apple of Eden with the name of Valhalla above it. Now this was back in 2019 before Valhalla was announced, and Darby McDevitt, the narrative director of Valhalla, did say in an interview that this was a complete coincidence, which is fair enough, and I will take his word for it, of course, but that is a mighty coincidence considering the game ended up being called 1 Valhalla, and 2 we actually play as a Viking chieftain who ends up holding 3 several artifacts of Eden. So yeah, I think it is a coincidence indeed there. But that all said, Assassin's Creed does remain a huge cash cow for Ubisoft, as the company has recently and publicly stated that they have not met their financial targets of the last financial year. So with all that in mind, releasing a Japanese AC game which would be widely popular with fans could lend itself to very healthy yet significantly speculative profit margins for the company in the years to come, especially as Ubisoft have now started to cut back on certain projects, with Yves Guillemot, Ubisoft CEO, going on to say again that we want to focus on our biggest development opportunities, which is why we've decided to cut back on development on certain titles. In fact, Ubisoft's recent multiplayer title, Roller Champions, is already under consideration for being scrapped internally, according to Eurogamer, and that came out 3 months ago, by the way, so they are really streamlining their pipelines at the moment. So with AC arguably being Ubisoft's biggest development opportunity due to the amount of money it generates per year, this all seems to be coming together quite nicely for AC Japan. That said, if Ubisoft do decide to release a Japanese game, it will forever be compared to Ghost of Tsushima, whether they like it or not. And I, for one, really do hope that Ubisoft do make a Japanese AC, but they're already fighting an uphill battle against a critically acclaimed Ghost game, which has sold over 8 million copies with a potential sequel on the horizon. And that's because Sucker Punch, the studio behind Ghost of Tsushima, have recently listed a job advert for a new game encounter designer, with a requirement being able to deliver varied encounters in open world games with a focus on melee, combat and stealth, as well as another requirement being that they must understand Ghost's core gameplay systems. So assuming this job posting is for a follow-up game, and as Sucker Punch Studios creates games solely for Sony and PlayStation, we can expect Ghost of Tsushima 2 around 2024 or 2025, using the Horizon and Horizon Forbidden West games as a comparable development cycle. Now, this provisional date would fall within the suspected release date of Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is provisionally penciled in for 2024 or later, according to industry insider Jason Schreier, which is what this Project Red Japan RPG game would be a part of, as we've mentioned, meaning that you'd have 2 Japanese open world melee AAA stealth games potentially releasing in the same year, which would be very spicy indeed and not ideal for either company. So with all of this in mind, and in my personal opinion, I do think that we're going to be picking up an AC game in Asia, whether that's going to be Japan or China. I think that kind of remains to be seen, but I am leaning towards Japan, and I think it's going to be the first RPG game coming out of the block for this new Infinity platform, which will be due in 2024. Now, of course, if you have found this video informative, or you've just genuinely enjoyed the breakdown, please do leave a very swift like down below. It only takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely really helps me out on YouTube, so thank you very much. And while you are down there, do subscribe for more Assassin's Creed videos just like this. I really do enjoy making these for you, and if anything new drops about AC Japan, you'll be the first to know. Big thanks to Jabak and Donor and Nika, who helped in the info gathering, and I'll see you in the next AC video, which should be popping up on your screen right now. As usual, coffee is on me.